Ladies and gentlemen, Madam President Rajavi, first of all, I would like to welcome our guests who have come from other side of the Atlantic to join us in this international conference on Iran and the democratic opposition. Some years ago, when we began challenging the blacklisting of the PMOI in Belgium and in Europe, we were very few. We had a hard job, both in national parliaments and certainly in the European Parliament. I remember Mr. Stevenson, Mr. Kazaka, and Mr. Vidal Quadras were the three senior and brave politicians who worked so hard in the European Parliament. Thanks for all your work. We in Belgium passed several resolutions in both houses, in the Chamber and the Senate, calling for removal of the PMOI from the terrorist list. And finally, after the Iranian resistance under the excellent leadership of Mrs. Rajavi won several court decisions in Britain and Europe, the name of the PMOI was removed from all blacklists in Europe in 2009. Now, after those hard days, we see the international support for our campaign is worldwide and is growing day by day. In Belgium, we have recently got the support of the majority of the senators from all political parties for Ashraf and the PMOI and the third option of Mrs. Rajavi. Let me read some parts of this joint declaration. Since relatives of Camp Ashraf residents have been sentenced to death by the Iranian regime after visiting the camp, since the Iraqi government has continued its inhuman siege of Ashraf, which began in early 2009 and has created a serious risk for the perpetration of a massacre against the residents. Since restrictions are imposed against Ashraf by using the pretext of the PMOI's listing in the US, since in its July 2010 ruling in favor to the PMOI, the US Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia ordered the State Department to review its decision to blacklist the organization. We call on the government of Belgium to 1. Urge the US government to remove the PMOI from its blacklist. 2. Urge the US to guarantee Ashraf protection and call on the UN to establish a monitoring team in the camp. We call on the United Nations Secretary General and the United Nations Assistance Mission for Iraq, the UNAMI, to reaffirm the legal status of Ashraf residents as protected persons under the 4th Geneva Convention, while prohibiting enforceable displacement of the residents inside Iraq, or the perpetration of violence against them. So, we senators have called on our government to press on the US government to follow the example of Europe and remove PMOI from their blacklist. We also strongly have called on the United Nations to take responsibility of Ashraf. So it's my great pleasure to present the support of the Belgian Senate to Mrs. Rajavi.